This is seriously how the overlords at Twitter think? Trump bad, Taliban okay? For a group that worships ancient moral codes, the Taliban is remarkably savvy at using social media to push their message, and that apparently is A-OK for Twitter. Joining us now to weigh in on this, Jason Miller, former senior advisor to President Trump and CEO of Getter. Jason, a lot of people are talking about it, but it really is stunning. We're almost numb to it that the spokespeople for the bloodthirsty, ruthless killers, Taliban, are on Twitter. That doesn't violate any codes?
Well, the other thing, too, it's not as though this press person or the spokesperson for the Taliban graduated from J school, or maybe they went and worked on a couple of campaigns and then became a spokesperson. I mean, these are murderous thugs. The reason why you see those horrific images of parents lifting their babies up over the fence, knowing they might never see them ever again, is because they know when the Taliban gets to them, they're going to mutilate them, all sorts of things we can't say at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Newsmax. But here's the real problem. It's not only just the fact that the Taliban is on and to keep President Trump off. Twitter allows the political director for Hamas to be on their platform, and even the Ayatollah. So if these murderous terrorist organizations can be on, but President Trump can't, I think their values are all screwed up.
Yeah, there's some murderous dictators and their comms people who are on these accounts. Now there's one school of thought that says, okay, free speech, keep it open, but then you can't go ahead and pull a Donald Trump for something that they perceive as violation of their rules. Who makes these rules, and where's the line drawn?
Well, right, and one of the things is I talk about our social media platform that we launched both with folks in the U.S. and outside. If you think that Americans are ticked off that 3 billionaires in California are dictating their free speech rights, imagine if you live outside the U.S., if you live in Brazil or the U.K., like, wait, why are these 3 billionaires dictating what we can and can't say? But here's the other thing when it comes to these terrorist groups is the fact that they're being allowed right now, if they're on good behavior, like what's good behavior for the Taliban? They haven't murdered anyone today, or they haven't murdered anyone this week, but yet President Trump, they've completely colluded to kick him off these platforms.
In your platform, would you host a Taliban spokesperson?
No, not at all. If you're a terrorist organization, I don't care what country you're from, or if people say it's on the left or on the right, if the sole mission of your organization or group is to bring harm to people or hurt them or kill them or wipe them off the face of the earth, then you're not allowed on, because that is not political free speech. That goes right to trying to hurt people, and that's not something we're going to put up with.
Gotcha. Let's take a listen. Control Room, Hayden's tweet, which blew me away, former general and also an NSA director, talked about sending the unvaxxed MAGA supporters to Afghanistan. I mean, that's outrageous enough. There's Hayden's tweet underneath, subtweeted, but then this Taliban spokesperson retweeted that saying, quote, good idea. What?
They're making a mockery of us. It's not just that picture, the Iwo Jima picture that they recreated. And the fact for General Hayden to see that his tweet is being used like that, he should be ashamed of himself. He's clearly signed up to the Mark Milley School of wokeism, and I don't know if he wants to extend his CNN contract or what's going on. This is embarrassment. How can you go out there and mock the people of America like this? We might have some political differences. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the general, but the fact that you can go and you throw Americans under the bus like that is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, 74 million people, 75 million people voted for Donald Trump. I've got to figure some of them are unvaccinated, but for God's sake, to say that, throw them back into the Taliban, send them over to the Taliban, that seems like it should violate some sort of, I don't know, Twitter rule, no?
Well, I mean, especially think about, we know what the Taliban does to women, for example, so that certainly seems to be threatening harm or trying to put someone in harm's way. But of course, there's not even a slap on the wrist for General Hayden. It's just certain rules for if you're a wokester on the left, but if you're a President Trump or a MAGA supporter, you get the digital death penalty.
They are very, very good, the Taliban I'm talking about. They're very, very good at propaganda. They've been using social media to change. I mean, I saw some stat where there's a small percentage of young Americans who would support the Taliban at this point because they're seeing them on Twitter and other social media.
Well, and the other thing, too, is it's been these last couple of decades that they've really learned how this game is played, the messaging game, the PR game. So they present this image. A lot of people, I mean, think about a lot of the younger folks weren't conscious or politically conscious around 9/11. They don't know what all went into it, the horrors that are brought to New York City and around all the rest of the country. I think it's a disgrace, again, that I think the social media companies allow the Taliban to have this unfettered access as if they're these Johnny-come-lately do-gooders, like they're from Greenpeace or, some Amnesty UN type group. No, these are terrorist, murderous thugs.
And they're being hosted by Jack Dorsey, Zuckerberg, Google, and the rest of them.
Roll out the red carpet.
Jason Miller, thank you for being here.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.